So this is how I do my setup with the Powerstation into a real cab using software-based Ampsims running out from my audio interface. So this is at least what I like to do and how I like my sound to be. The very first thing I do want to show is that I've read this on the forums, but just going from line out from your interface to line in, it's a bit quieter. They recommend just going to the effects return. People found that it's louder there, so I go line out from my interface into the effects return, and it is louder, like they said. The second thing is what I do is this is kind of a neat trick that's kind of known. If you do some digging, you can run the Fryette Powerstation speaker load into itself. This is so that you can use these two toggles here that control the top end and bottom end. So these basically are not going to do anything if you're just running effects return or line in from your Ampsim or your modeler, whatever. These need to be, the Fryette needs to be loaded with something for these to be working. And I bought the damn thing. I want all the knobs to work. So what people do is they run the Fryette into itself. The same cable here that loops into the amp in. Right now it's set at 4 ohms. I could do 16.2 with the selector, but I'm doing 4 ohms, so that means the amp in selector is going to be at 4 and the speaker out will be at 2 because the way it's wired, right? So if you're running at 8 ohm cab, your amp in is going to be at 8 ohms here, and this will be at 4. So 2 and 4 are on the same selector. If you're running a 16 ohm cab, again, this one's going to be at 16, your amp in. This one's going to be at 8 for the speaker out. So you run its load into itself. There is a little volume loss. I did do a few testing. You lose around 1 to 2 dB. I think it's worth it to get these enabled, and this thing's plenty loud enough for me. I'm going guitar into this. This one has a buffer bypass, and then out into the DI box. DI goes into the line in via XLR of my audio interface. So I'm running line out from my audio interface into the input of this hum remover. It's basically like a ground lift switch, and this goes into the effects return of the Fryette Powerstation. So the Fryette Powerstation does have a ground lift. I find this one just eliminates a little more hum and buzz. Right, and now I have my guitar plugged into my audio interface, and I have the Gojira plugging up. I'm going to be recording through mic through my cab that my Powerstation is hooked up to. I could do an IR, but I just really love the sound of an actual cab and guitar speakers going off. So that's how this is getting recorded. And one of the things with this power amp too is it's a very transparent power amp. Now, I'm not really technical. I'm not a techie guy. The only tube amp I've ever owned was a Fender Pro Junior I got from my friend. So I don't even know how the real amps are supposed to sound, but apparently this one is a very transparent power amp, so that if you're running like a power amp simulation, that will come out without being all colored. I believe there's a video where Stephen Fryette talks about this, and it's purposely a neutral transparent amp because when you plug in an amp to attenuate, they wanted to retain all the characteristics of that amp and that power amp. Now again, I'm not a technical guy, but all I know is it sounds good. So I'm just going to load up Neural Amp Modeler. I'm going to get through the whole screen on my PC here in a minute, but I remember giving up on Neural Amp Modeler and ToneX very early on because the tones were just, something was missing. And one of the things I hadn't fully realized, these captures don't actually, a lot of them, like I think 99% of them, I'm pretty sure like basically all of them do not have power amp modeling on. I'll play it to you without, just straight up. And I remember I could not get a good sound of this thing. And I had no clue what was going on, but again, I found out these aren't capturing the power amp section of things. So captures are totally different beasts in that regard. And because this amp is neutral, this Fryette Powerstation, it doesn't really, you can mess with the edge and deep buttons, but it's not truly coloring it like a regular power amp. I did end up experimenting, and then I guess the secret sauce with the Fryette to get capture sounding good is downloading power amp models. A lot of people, they have captured power amps so that what you would do is you would run the captured amp, the captured preamp, and then you would run a second instance of Neural Amp Modeler, and then run the capture of the power amp by itself. And then you would basically chain the two. So the preamp be going to the power amp. Now I'm not technical. I know this is probably maybe not the way to do it, or at least it simulates it where it sounds great to my ears. There are a bunch of power amp model presets on Tone 3000, which is where you can get all the neural amp presets. I actually found a KSR PA50 that sounds really good. And the awesome thing is, because the Fryette is so neutral and transparent, it's not like doubling up much at all. Again, we're gonna play this without power amp simulation. Now with power amp simulation with the KSR PA50. Now that's way better. I also really like this one. It sounds great. This is a JVM 410H power amp. So I don't know if you're going to hear that in the mic, but in the room it's quite drastic. This is a 6505 capture with a separate 6505 power amp. This is with a boost on, so this is gonna make it a little more smooth. Now let's go to ToneX. I can show you there too. I'm gonna go through just the tone, the preamp without the power amp modeling. Again, it's lacking a little punch. It's definitely really dry sounding. So this is with the KSR PA50. Then this is with the Sarah AH50, same settings. As you can see, it's got way more power with those settings there. I guess the only drawback is if you don't see the same model power amp that you're running your preamp amp as, and I guess it won't be as accurate anymore. But for me, I don't really care. I guess, I mean, if it sounds good, it sounds good to me. Like if you have a 5153 100 watt, I have yet to find a power amp capture of the 100 watt version. So It's not going to be 100% accurate, but I mean, it sounds good to my ears and it sounds great. Neural Amp Modeler versus ToneX, my experience, I feel like the really good Neural Amp Modeler captures sound really good. And I think it sounds better than the best ToneX presets. But the problem is there's a lot of bad captures, in my opinion, that don't sound really good. And the fan base is not as big as ToneX. So I think I ended up maybe deleting like 90% of the captures I downloaded from Neural Amp Modeler. There were only a few that I found were really good. I ended up having to EQ them a bit because everyone has a different taste in tone, but I do feel like the best profiles in Neural Amp Modeler beat the best ones in ToneX, but there's not as a lot of good ones as you can find on ToneX that are good, if that makes sense. And I guess because ToneX is more popular and it's a bigger platform, and just a lot more people use it, so I do find a lot of overall better captures on ToneX. But when it comes to the best, I think Neural Amp Modeler sounds better when you have a really good capture. I just wish people did more capturing with the Neural Amp Modeler because that would be great.